tropical atoll on the eastern tip of the Caroline Islands. Its lagoon a burial ground for a vast fleet of ships. Entering the sheltered bay, Philippe Cousteau and his team from Calypso are confronted by a ghostly display.
Upright, yes, it's upright. The second one being it.
Oxidized mementos of war.
It's a destroyer.
Now symbols of waste. Tragic testimony that a battle was fought here. The rusted residue of Truk's violent past. During World War II, Truk was home base for the combined fleet of the Japanese Imperial Navy. From the beginning of the war, its buildup was fast and efficient. Truk was the center of Japan's defense perimeter, not only the main staging area for its fleet, but also an important air base. It was called the Gibraltar of the Pacific, and it was considered the strongest naval base in this part of the world since Pearl Harbor. Most of the fortifications were built for defense against a landing from the sea, but the Allied decision was to neutralize Truk by a concentrated air attack. On the morning of February 16, 1944, the first strike. 70 American fighter planes. Initial objective, the airfields. .275 aircraft are destroyed before they can take off. Japanese air defense is quickly paralyzed. Next, the main targets, the ships anchored in Truk Lagoon. The Japanese command has ordered its warships to safer waters. Delayed by bad weather and trapped at anchor are more than 30 vessels, the pride of Japan's auxiliary fleet. In 2 days, the lagoon is transformed from a naval fortress to a ship's graveyard.
For a sailor, a ship is a home. And for my men aboard the Hopeful, the pilgrimage to a fleet of drowned vessels will be like exploring a sunken city. They will be on their own, far removed from the mothership Calypso. They are experienced, but young. Like the natives who greet them, they have no personal memory of World War II, its battles, or its headlines.
Before leaving the Calypso, Philippe had reviewed every detail of the battle. Now, prior to diving, he and his crew look for what is left of the Japanese fortifications.
I mean, I think you'll see areas here that were part of the battle.
I felt as though I were on familiar ground because of the research I had done prior to our arrival. I found that I was able to identify every feature of the terrain. It was as if I had been a fighter pilot during the Truk raid, although I was only 3 years old at the time.
Éthène, human et le récif extérieur. Tout le long. 40 000.
The mast of a sunken Japanese ship stands like a beacon, beckoning Cousteau's divers to their first sample of Truk's hidden cargo.
It's all the way on, and you can't tell.
Wow! I'm the star of the video.
With Captain Sequel, a local sailor, as their guide, the crew has been assured that the anchorage is safe, despite the apparent proximity of the wreck. The sunken ship is clearly visible just below the Hopeful's bow. This first dive will be a shallow one. They wear wet suits to protect them against cuts and bruises from poisonous fire coral, which abounds in these shallow waters.
We'd been told by the natives the wreckage was that of a small harbor boat. But as was often the case, the Truckies knew little about the sunken ships. Instead of a small boat, what we found was an armed cargo ship of substantial size.
The ship is broken in two, evidence of a direct hit. On deck is heavy gear for handling freight. There is other debris nearby. They have been informed by Captain Sequel that in this area of the lagoon, a downed aircraft may be found. It is a Japanese dive bomber of the class known to the Americans as Judy's, a plane which operated both from carriers and shore bases. This bullet-riddled plane, shot down not far from the airstrip, was one of the few not caught on the ground.
World-famous underwater videographer Kimberly Verbraad for Clean.
I don't have time to go diving and keep my laundry clean. That's why I use Ultra Clean. Keeps your clothing fresh and your colors bright, and it makes our crew very, very happy. Ultra Clean.